It's getting hot in here!
Hey guys, what's up? So we've just seen all of the new cards get released for the Ungaro expansion in Hearthstone, and I'm here to give you my review of the full set now that we have it, or at least what I think I know so far without having played any of the cards. It'll be good to look back on this later. I think the way we're going to do it is I'm going to start by highlighting what I think are the two most powerful classes going into the expansion, and then we'll look at each of the other classes individually and check out some of the more important neutral cards that I think will actually be relevant in constructed play. So to start, the first thing we're looking at is Hunter, and I think that Hunter is going to be one of the two most powerful classes just based on the cards they're getting as well as the current cards they have in their collection compared to the other classes. And the second one that we'll be looking at is Warrior, and I think Warrior will also be very strong, and that won't be the Pirate Warrior, that will be a different style of Warrior, thankfully, going into the next expansion, which I'm excited about and will be interesting to look at right after some Hunter. So first, why do we think Hunter is going to be good, or why is it going to be one of the best decks, if not the best deck? Well, Hunter is going to have two different ways to build. They can either do a quest-style deck with a lot of early game one-drops, or they can do more of a mid-range style board control beast deck, maybe with some traps, depending on how you want to construct it, with things like Swamp King Dread and Crackling Razor Maw. But what Hunter is getting to make them go from the bottom to the top is a bunch of just straight up really powerful cards. Things that are above curve in a lot of ways compared to other class cards. And a lot of other classes are losing strength, while Hunter isn't really losing anything in trade-off from the expansions rotating out. They're keeping a lot of things that will still develop synergy in this expansion. For example, Rat Pack is a great card at 3 mana that it was a little too awkward to play in the current meta, and the hand buffs didn't support it by being random. But with a mechanic like Adapt, you can have Rat Pack on the board and then adapt it for more attack while it's in play. And that's something that's really going to be a lot easier for Hunter to pull off than maybe some of the other classes with the ways that their mechanics work. But Hunter also just gets some great cards, and Grievous Bite is a good example of that. So much of Hunter's power has always been tied into turn 3, and there haven't been as many great options on turn 2. You've been playing like Kindly Grandmother. Well, now you have a removal, and not only a removal, but a premium removal. A cleave effect, possibly damaging 3 minions, or even just useful on a single target. This is fantastic whether you play it on turn 2 or later in the game to help deal with the board. I think that you'll see this played regardless of which type of Hunter because it's so good. Midrange and aggro will both feature this card. So with that, we also get some other great cards that don't look as impressive on the surface, but are really good because of what Hunter needs for their toolkit. Hunter needs to take over the board early on and get synergy out of their stuff. So first we have Jeweled Macaw, which is kind of like a Web Spinner replacement, and historically Web Spinner was a great card. Being able to play a 1/1 beast that also gets you something was very powerful. And this is even better than Web Spinner because the Battle Cry will get you the beast right away. So when you top deck Jeweled Macaw, then you can draw into that random beast. The pool of random beasts is a little hard to judge. We've seen a ton of things from the neutral sets be introduced with beasts, and I think that will remain to be seen. But playing a 1/1 that draws you a beast historically has been a very good play and helps iron out the curve, which Hunter needs a lot at the moment. Works with the quest as well if you're playing Quest Hunter. Small Raptor, another great example of just something that helps iron out the curve. It shuffles a 4/3 Raptor, and the 4/3 Raptor is also 1 mana, so this is very beneficial to the quest. It maybe supports things like the Tol'Vir over here, drawing you some extra 1-drops, but mostly it's something you can play and know that it's helping you later, despite the fact that it was an early game card. We get Crackling Razor Maw, a very strong turn 2 play to support all these turn 1s that Hunter has. You can adapt right away, or you could just play it as a 3/2. You could use this later on with a big beast like a Rat Pack or something else. These types of things where we're getting all this lower mana cost for Hunter is pushing them into best of the best territory and to be a tier 1 deck. And we get some other fun ones that you might include. Things like Terrascale Stalker, trigger friendly minions death rattle. It's not bad, it's just hard to compare it to the other awesome hunter cards for 3 mana. 12-year Warden, yeah, this could be good for the quest. This could be good for a mid-range hunter too, since you're definitely playing 1-drops as a hunter. Stampede, I mean, this one's pretty cool. Hunter doesn't have a lot of card draw. It is random beasts, but it synergizes off itself, which means you could just keep dropping beast after beast that it generates for you if you're lucky. Dinomancy, this looks really strong. I mean, if you're playing mid-range hunter, you don't need to smork with your hero power as much as you need board control with your beasts. And basically everything that you're playing is a beast, so I think that'll work out pretty well. And then so we have the really strong stuff: Marsh King, Marsh Queen, and Swamp King Dread, giving us just 2 different styles of hunter constructed that at least one of them has got to end up as tier 1 given the cards they've got at their disposal. Okay, and then we're going to zoom down and check out some warrior, because I think warrior is the other class that is looking very tier 1 to me. So the main thing for warrior is the quest. I don't think there's any way you're not playing the quest. You could play, old aggro warrior if you want, but I'm thinking that will be a little outdone by modern taunt warrior. What they've given us for the warrior quest is ridiculous, and it's a way for warrior to get infinite value. There's only a couple quests which get infinite value. The warlock is another good example of one. But this is exactly what you need. Whether you're playing mid-range warrior or control warrior, being able to deal 8 damage is very powerful. You can kill your opponent, you can kill the minions, you can see which happens and then decide what you want to do with your spells. And not to mention, you're coupling this with a strategy that's pretty good. You're doing taunt minions. So as a warrior, this is strong for you. You're slowing down the board. You're making it so your opponent can't get through and kill you, and then you get to brawl all of their minions that they set up, or use some whirlwind removal effects. Alongside the quest being amazing and very much infinite value worthy, capable of killing Jades even, we get a whole host of really good taunt minions. We get things like Cornered Sentry, which looks a little innocent on the surface, but is actually very powerful, especially if you consider you're playing whirlwind effects to deal with your opponent's minions. Direhorn Hatchling, not too impressive, but an easy taunt you can throw in there. Tar Lord, that's pretty good. You could definitely play that if you discovered it. Ornery Direhorn, maybe a little slow. And then we have some neutral things that are helping warrior a lot, such as Stonehill Defender. Discover a taunt minion, and its taunt itself. This neutral minion could almost just be a warrior card, although it'll probably be played by some other classes too. This is easily included. It slows down your opponent, you get another thing to help get the quest, you get value, and when you're discovering, you're very likely to get a class card, so you're probably going to pick up a Cornered Sentry or a Direhorn off of that discovery as well. This looks super consistent to complete on your curve. You'll be able to stay alive with the taunt minions and then start getting good value out of it. And I think for that reason, warrior will also be tier 1. I don't know if control warrior or like a mid-range taunt warrior will be tier 1. It seems like the taunts lead themselves more towards immediate board control rather than really control heavy stuff. But I don't think we'll be seeing fatigue again, right? It doesn't seem like fatigue will take a role in our games in the next expansion, because even the control classes are going to be able to try to kill you if you stop playing things. And that's kind of a nice feeling, that warrior will have a way to regain some control after their foray into the pirates. So that's my belief of the top 2 classes will be hunter and warrior. And then we'll just take a look at some of the other classes that have been upgraded and see what we feel about them, or where I think that they will fall based on that. And I'm kind of considering that the warrior hunter will be the decks that these would be aiming to beat, and that will take some of the evaluation, and we may find out that that's not true. Maybe we get into it and boy, secret mage is like the best thing ever, and warrior and hunter nowhere to be seen, they're bottom. But if they are top, like I believe, I'm going to try to judge the other classes by that. Okay, so first up is Druid. I guess we'll just go alphabetical through the remaining classes. Druid quest looks pretty cool. Reduce the cost of minions in your deck to 0. It looks pretty cool, but I think that this is actually less cool than I initially believed it to be. Like, honestly, a Jade Druid still feels a bit better than this. You have to wait fairly long in the game to be able to play the Druid quest. You have to be able to start playing 5 attack minions, which is around turn 3 or 4, and then you have to do that one each turn, because there's no turn you're going to play multiple 5 attack minions on until you have a significant amount of mana. So it's like turn 9 or 10 that you're able to complete this quest, and then you get to slam down some dudes, and maybe your opponent can't answer them. But maybe the warrior just brawls it all away, right? You slam down a bunch of 0 mana dudes, and then the warrior brawls it all, and you only have so much card draw. There's not a lot of things that are going to get you back into that game by playing more minions. The warrior could probably, hang on against 2 or 3 continued 1 and just use his hero power. I'm still thinking that Jade is looking a little stronger than the Druid quest, although the Druid quest can be ridiculous in some ways. I feel that we'll need a better deck builder than what we saw in the reveal stream anyways. Something like an Auctioneer, being 0 mana, maybe you can do some cool things with that, or I'm not quite sure right now, but the warrior feels like it'll beat this, and the hunter also feels like it'll beat this, that playing these minions is too slow. You can't just keep slamming these on the board. Hunter's going to have a big board by turn 4, and he's going to be hitting you quite hard if you haven't done anything. So overall, I'm going to give Druid like a tier 3, maybe a tier 2. Druid has very good classic set options. Maybe Token Druid could do something. But if Warrior and Hunter are actually that good, I am not going to rate Druid as too highly. It would come down to Jade Druid still being a consistent threat, and it feels like we're getting improvements on that in the next expansion. Next up is Mage. Mage looks pretty good. I think Mage is a solid tier 2, and I hope that it's not tier 1, because it'll be really frustrating to play against. I really like Mage, it's probably one of my favorite classes, but we're pushing this whole random card strategy a little far now, aren't we? Primordial Glyph is really strong. That's a great random card draw one we get. It's Discover as well, so there's some good skill to it. But some of the other ones, like Shimmering Tempest or just the quest itself, that rewards you for all this random card in Mage, man, that would be frustrating to face in a lot of matches, wouldn't it? You can't really know what your opponent has in their hand. The secrets look good. We're getting some good secret synergy there. I'm not sure that the Mage quest is really going to be the way to go. I feel like you can do 2 different styles. You can do an aggro secret style, or you can do a mid-game quest Mage. But I'm not going to rate either of those tier 1. They feel like they rely a bit on your opponent to take a back seat. There's not a lot of defensive options here. You're mostly killing their minions. Random spells have never really proven themselves to be the most effective. So I will give it a tier 2. I think it's strong and it has really good potential. It got some very good cards, cool things like Meteor and Mana Bind that help it a lot, but I just don't see it being the best deck out there. Next up is Paladin. So Paladin's going for a buff strategy, or maybe a Murloc and maybe some buffs. The one thing I can say is that the quest from Paladin looks not very impressive, but then when you actually play it, it turns out it's pretty good. So we saw it on the reveal stream. Galvadon, adapt 5 times, will very consistently get stealth. When you do Galvadon with 5 adapts, you're very likely to get stealth. You'd have to be incredibly unlucky to not get it. And with that, you can add things like Wind Fury, you can add plus damage. The moment you get Stealth and Wind Fury, any of these buffs that you've been doing in your deck, oh man, imagine like a dino size, any of these buffs you've been doing in your deck, Blessing of Kings, Blessing of Might, are doubled and you have a 1-turn kill potential. Most classes can't interact very well with a Stealth 5 health minion, and you could even end up giving it Divine Shield with the adapts. So I think the biggest thing to consider is this is basically like gain stealth and adapt 4 times, because you're always going to get stealth. And that makes it a lot better than what it looked like on the surface. As far as the other Paladin cards, we've seen some very good ones. The Adaption 1 mana card I think is really good. That's a super strong blessing. Summon 2/1/1 Silverhand Recruits is solid. You could definitely play that. Spike Ridge Steed's a little slow, but pretty good. Primal Fin Champion. I'm a little torn on this card. Return any spells you cast on this minion to your hand is a death rattle. See, if this just gets polymorphed or sapped, you lose all those buffs. I'm not sold on the Murloc Paladin. I feel like the mid-range Paladin with just like solid buffs and stay alive until you can play Galvadon will be the best strategy. I like the idea of Paladin having a way to kill the opponent though. I think Galvadon's a cool minion for that. And when this looks like stealth adapt 4 times, it's a lot stronger. So, something to keep in mind. I wouldn't count Paladin out, but I'll give them like a tier 3 because if you're facing down Hunter, Hunter's way ahead of you on the board early on. They didn't get like anything too amazing to deal with that other than Lost in the Jungle. Everything else is a rather slower card that relies on your other minions. And then Warrior's not going to let you keep stuff, right? Warrior is definitely going to kill the things you put blessings on. I'm not sold on that. So Priest is a weird one. I feel like Priest technically should work really well together, right? They get the ability to not die with their quest, and they also get really good late game value with playing Death Rattles, and you can play Zoth. They have some individually quite strong cards. Things like Crystalline Oracle is really good. Tortolian Shellraiser is really good for the quest. It's not straight overpowered, but a very good card. And the quest itself is amazing, as well as Priest has a big toolkit behind it for value, right? That's like a ton of what Priest cards are in the actual collection is value. But a lot of that value comes from stealing your opponent's cards, and I don't know if that's really that good in this next expansion. If I'm stealing like a Hunter Beast or a Light Fuse Stegodon, you know, these things are actually just way worse than a normal card and are not worth the constructed value that I'm playing at. You know, I'm stealing taunts from a warrior, on the other hand, that looks really good. Or if you're stealing Battle Rage from a warrior, oh boy, that'd be pretty nice. But I'm not sold on the steals, and because of that, I think it's hard to rate Priest well right now. I'm going to say Priest is tier 3, just because they don't have anything going for them other than value game, and other classes have some infinite value mechanics, which are going to be hard to compensate for, things like the Warlock or the Warrior quest. So Priest is probably tier 3, in my opinion. Rogue. Rogue's tough. So I'm going to say Rogue is basically aggro Rogue unless someone finds out a really good quest deck. Right? Right now, Rogue looks probably tier 2 or 3. They have a strong classic set, but none of the things they're getting are so amazing. The Envenom Weapon's pretty good. This one's definitely a solid card. It's like 2 Assassinates for 3 mana, though you have to face tank it. But to me, it'll only be tier 1 if someone gets a really good quest deck, right? So they'll refine it for a while, for like a couple months, and someone will be like, hey, here's my Caverns Below Rogue deck that got #1 legend. And suddenly everyone's going to be playing it because it's going to be amazing. But on the surface, I don't think that it's going to do better than tier 2. It just didn't gain anything spectacular here, and it's going to go back to its old aggressive V-tempo Rogue style that tries to get a good early board advantage with like a Van Cleef. There's also no new healing mechanics, so Rogue's pretty much stuck without being able to heal still for an entire another expansion. Compared to the other quests, which have a really clear direction, this one's pretty weird. I don't know where to go with it yet. So, Rogue, you're going to have to figure something out if you're interesting about it. Shaman. Okay, so I saw some other people rate Shaman highly, but I'm not convinced. I think that the one really powerful card for Shaman is this one, Fire Plumed Harbinger. Reduce the cost of elementals in your hand by 1. This is like an easy thing to miss, but this is incredibly strong if you're playing elementals. The other way to go would be the Murlocs, 7/10 Murlocs. Like the quest isn't that hard to do, and the Murlocs might be strong, but Megafin's not that good. Fill your hand with random Murlocs, like this doesn't win you the game. You still have to play these Murlocs. If it was fill your board with random Murlocs, it'd be a lot better than fill your hand. You may desperately want the card draw, but I'm hesitant to say random Murlocs can get the job done. Now, something to keep in mind is one of the neutral cards we saw, which is incredibly strong Murloc. For 2 mana, Rock Pool Hunter. 2 mana, 2/3, give a friendly Murloc +1/+1. So this is like a really above curve Murloc. And this type of thing helps maybe the Shaman strategy for Murlocs be better, but I'm hesitant to think that it'll really be any good. If you're playing against control warriors, they shouldn't be dying to this. And if you're playing against hunters, they should be able to take over the board before the murlocs do. So I think to me, it's going to be elementals, and the elementals are probably like a solid tier 2, maybe even tier 3. I can't rate this any higher than that. Jade Shaman looks like it would be about as efficient, and if they're not really improving Shaman with the other classes getting so much better, then I can't put them at the top anyways. Warlock. Warlock looks pretty good with the discard. I mean, it's definitely feast or famine. You're rolling your dice on if you discard the right things. But the Warlock quest is infinite value, which right away is very good, right? If you complete that quest, you're set for life. You got everything you could dream of. Demons and more demons at your disposal. You don't even have to do anything every turn. You can just watch it happen. And I think it's not that hard to complete the quest. We've seen a ton of synergy. They get the legendary, they get the discard taunt. They already have some good discard cards. So to me, that would be the Warlock strategy. You're going mid-range or probably full aggro, more likely. Quest Warlock, and then you slam the portal and try to beat them down on the board. The other thing to consider is they got some interesting control cards, Corrupting Mist and Blood Bloom. Corrupting Mist is like good value. It's probably okay card. Blood Bloom seems very good. You can cast Doom or Twisting Nether at any point in the game pretty much and continue to do your turn afterwards. But the problem is this damages you, and realistically there's no good ways to heal. We have only the classic ways to heal. This entire set didn't introduce things for the other classes, so you know, I don't think Control Warlock's really going to survive. Whether they have strong mechanics like this or not, it's going to be tough to make your way in the world as a Control Warlock. But if they were going to do it, Blood Bloom would be the way. You gotta play a Doom on turn 4, draw a bunch of cards. I'm going to put my money in the Discard Warlock, and I'm going to say the Discard Warlock is tier 2 or like even a close tier 1. Discard Warlock has so much synergy and an infinite value. Very highly rate what Warlock will be. And then Warlock has great hero power as well, so I have no doubt that they can make some stuff happen. With that, we're through the normal classes, and we're going to look at some of the neutral cards, kind of just evaluate some of the more important ones. There's a fair number of filler cards, but I'll look at the ones that I think you should remember and may actually show up in your constructed games. The first one is Spirit Singer Umbra. I mean, this one's actually really good. After you summon a minion, trigger its Death Rattle. It's an easy combo turn with so many different Death Rattles, and it stays on the board. If they don't kill it, then you get another turn where you play more Death Rattles. So this one is very constructed worthy. Dvorax, I think this one's a lot harder to play. You know, it really needs to be better stats on the base body for me. I don't think I would include this even if I was playing buffs. At least the Trailblazer. Yeah, if Warrior is really a thing, this could be legit. This could be legit, especially with the way they showed it in the reveal with the increased rarity of stuff. It could be very legit if Warrior is a thing. Henna Jungle Hunter, probably not. I do not see this card being played. It's a niche card. There'll be like 1 or 2 decks that try to use it. Ozrak, this is complete garbage. This is like Boogeyman tier. Only time you play this is if you discover it. You'd never actually include this in your deck in Constructed. Okay, let's highlight a couple of the ones I think are more relevant. So there's some good epic ones. The first one is Gentle Megasaur. We looked at the Murlocs and that, you know, maybe Paladin or Shaman can use Murlocs. Adapt your Murlocs is like incredibly strong. This is a very powerful card. This is adapting multiple minions. It has a good body on itself. You would expect it to be like a 3/3 considering it has beneficial effect for others. Very strong card. You could totally see that played. Bright-Eyed Scout. 4 mana, 3/4 draw card changes its cost to 5. I think this is much better than it looks on the surface. I think this is definitely playable, and this could actually see like really good constructed use. Bittertide Hydra. You think this is filler, but it's not. 5 mana, 8/8. Whenever this minion takes damage, deal 3 damage to your hero. 5 mana, 8/8? Like what? I'm putting this in every mid-range hunter deck. This is Fel Reaver, but even better. And then I follow it up with Highmane and then Swamp King Dread after. You can put 2 of these in your deck. This is like really good, especially because it's a beast and Hunter is good. And Hunter does not have strong turn 5s. They have really weak statted turn 5s. So now we can just slam this big boy on our curve. And we're going right off. We're going like Rad Pack on 3, Houndmaster on 4, Bittertide Hydra on 5, High Mane on 6, Swamp King on 7. And like every single turn, you've hit them with a way stronger creature than what they played. So yeah, pretty good. Blaze Caller, probably not. Some of these other ones pretty average. I don't think those will see much constructed play. It's important to learn these cards because there's a lot of discovery and things that we'll end up pulling these out of, but right now would only worry about the ones you really put in your deck. Galactic Crawler, nope. Stonehill Defender, yes, this is definitely a good card. This can be played by a lot of different classes, in fact. This card is incredibly strong. It's Discover for 3 mana. Reminds me of like the Cabal Courier, but it's even better for some classes. You're very much more likely to get a class card than a neutral card when you're doing a Discover. So some classes have way more taunts than others. A rogue won't get any, for example. But a warrior or a priest can get extra taunt minions. Paladin, you can get Tyrion. You could just like, you need to be way more likely to get Tyrion than you would to get a neutral card. It's a taunt itself as well. Servant of Kalamos. Yeah, this one's really good. This is like Azure Drake, but for elementals, and it's an elemental itself, so it keeps your elemental synergy alive. If you're playing elementals, I'm pretty sure you're putting a Servant of Kalamos in there, because it's very good. In the commons, maybe Firefly and Glacial Shard. I think that these ones could see constructed play. I don't think that Emerald Reaver will do anything except be a face hunter card. Volatile Elemental is very good. This one is super important to consider. I think this is a very strong card in a number of decks. It's an Elemental. The Death Rattle is guaranteed on a minion, so it's not even random a lot of the time. Works with the Spirit Singer. This card can see a lot of constructed play, and I will definitely be trying out some Volatile Elementals. Rock Pool Hunter is also super good. We looked at it for a second there with the Warrior. This is just a Shattered Sun Cleric that's also a Murloc and costs 1 less mana. Like, it's a pretty ridiculous card. And if Murlocs are the new broken thing, it's because of this guy. He should have been a 2/2. Why did Blizzard make him a 2/3? They just really wanted Murlocs to be good. Yeah, it's pretty strong. You'll put this in any Murloc deck that you wanted. The downside to this is if you're playing Finja, then you may pull him out of Finja, and then he's pretty shit. That's about it. Tar Creeper. This is Sludge Belcher of the expansion. This is a huge card. You're going to see this all the time in Constructed. Almost any mid-range deck would play this, whether you're a Paladin or a Mage or even a Druid, or especially a Warrior. You will play this card. It's 5 health with Taunt. It protects your aggressive minions. It protects your face. Get used to this guy. Put him in your deck. You'll love him. We'll see how he does. That's pretty much it. Any of the higher ones after that point. The Igneous Elemental maybe has a small consideration for elemental decks, but things like, you know, the Ultrasaur, the Giant Mastodon will not see any constructed play, unfortunately. Only if you randomly discover this. See, these things work to make the hunter discover mechanic of a random beast like so much worse, right? And it's important to think of that when you're playing hunter and you're discovering a random beast. You can get an Ultrasaur, and that really sucks. You don't want an Ultrasaur because you can never play this. That about does it. We get a lot of filler there at the end, but the classes seem like a lot of their cards are pretty cool. Overall, we're seeing Warrior and Hunter will be the strongest. I think those two will be going at it as top dog, and the other classes will be picking fights and having some good, reasonable shots at it. You know, things like a Paladin can definitely pick a fight with a Warrior or Hunter, but those should probably be the go-tos. Hope you guys look forward to Ungrow. I hope you liked the review. If you have any feedback, feel free to leave me a comment. Thanks for watching.